How's it going, everybody? It's Pride here and welcome back to another Code Vein video. Finally getting around to this. I've been meaning to do this video pretty much since the network test ended, but I guess it's better late than never, especially since just a couple of days ago, right, I'm lazy. They finally announced the release date for Code Vein pretty much one entire year later than the initial release date, September 27th of this year, obviously. That is the new release date. I doubt that's going to change at all. They're most likely, even if it's, still alpha, they would. I can't imagine they would delay it more. It's cool that we get to play it soon because I enjoyed it personally. I don't know about you guys, but I guess I might as well also talk about some of my favorite and least favorite things about the network test, or about the game in general, I guess, pretty much, since it is like 95% finished at this point, right? I'm basically going to be going back and forth between, my favorite things and what I think are the best things and my least favorite things from the game itself so far. And also feel free to let me know some of your guys' favorite and least favorite things from playing the game yourselves. So, the best and I think the most consistent overall best thing about Code Vein, the jiggle physics. I mean, they were fantastic. The way they swayed, the slap sound that comes out whenever they do. It's incredible. They did a great job with it. Easily number one at the top of my list, and when I asked on my community section on YouTube, that's number one, hands down, without a doubt. So let's go ahead on to, I have another the ability to make unique builds with different types of blood codes. So the blood codes in general, the way they work, I think is really cool. It allows you to do a bunch of different types of builds, to have different abilities. The blood code abilities themselves, I think, are a really cool idea. They could turn shittier weapons or slower weapons, making them pretty decent and have some great moves. Do you want to have, a healing character to heal your little co-op partner? Do you want to have a character that has a lot of offensive attacks that are big combo moves? Do you want to be, a mage that shoots spells that are sometimes pretty powerful from long range? You can pretty much do it all. And you can also mix and match some of those, and I'm guessing once the game comes out and you do get more points, then I think when I finished playing the game, I had 16 points to use. And if you know how the game works, you have a certain amount of points. Let's just say, like in Dark Souls 3, you have your focus points. Those abilities will cost a certain amount of points, and you can continuously keep getting points by killing enemies. You also have these special attacks that are specifically done so you can get the most amount of those blood points back. I don't know if they're called blood points, I'm just calling them that. But I really like the way the blood codes work, but there is also a big problem with that as well. So we're going to move on to a dislike now. With the blood codes, and especially there being a bunch of different types, there's going to be some blood codes that have cooler abilities that you might want to use, and you won't be able to use. For example, one of my favorite things from one of the blood codes was one of the dodges that it had. You can see the dodge here on the screen. It was a really cool phasing dodge that I didn't see in any of the other ones that I did try. It was probably the funnest to do, and it seemed to be the best, but it also limited what I could use in terms of, armor and the weapons. There would be some weapons like big ultra great weapons that I wouldn't be able to wield and do as much damage as I would with a different type of blood code that was better with those big weapons. So you are pretty limited in that. You're going to really have to see what type of build you want. Do you want something where you're smaller and you maybe don't have as much armor and you have something like a straight sword, or do you want to be a big tank, a ton of armor, have a bunch of equip weight with a big ultra great weapon? It is fairly limited, but hopefully if you level up to a certain point, there will be a time where you'll pretty much be able to do whatever you want. So it's most likely going to be you jumping back and forth a lot of the times between different blood codes. Now another the art style of the game. Now people, it's kind of I'd say 50-50 when it comes to the art style. A lot of people don't like the anime look to the game. I personally do. I like anime. I think the game looks fine, but a dislike, it doesn't look great. It's not, Dragon Ball Fighter Z or anything like that. It's just your typical anime look. There's nothing really too special about it, but overall, I like anime, so I think it looks fine. The thing I did like were the boss designs and the abilities that the bosses had. I think that the bosses that we did fight, at least for the most part, the bigger ones, you can tell, I think the Queen's Knight was one of them, and then Todoroki with her fire and ice. and her giant swing personality. I think they both had really cool movesets. They were both fun fights. Fairly difficult, but not too difficult where you're like, God, I'm never going to be able to learn this moveset. It's too random. It's not super hard. And if you do want it to be harder, don't use your co-op character, because that definitely does make it easier. You can play the game by yourself, making things a lot harder. But one thing they do need to fix is the hitboxes. I think the hitboxes are still a little bit wonky, but it's also really hard to get those, you know, exact. Just look at Bloodborne. Bloodborne is obviously one of the probably the best games ever made, and the hitboxes in that game are kinda shitty, especially for some of the bigger bosses. But I thought overall the boss designs and the way their powers worked and stuff and their moves, I thought they were really cool. Another dislike though, I feel like there weren't many enemy varieties. I feel like, you know, we saw pretty much every single type of enemy a year ago, and there hasn't been really anything new put into it. You know, maybe they do have a different type of look, and I'm not saying that they don't look cool, like they look fine, but there's not that many, you know. There's like, you're gonna see the same dude holding the shield. I don't know if this is just because it's the network test and we saw 2 or 3 areas. There's like 6 different types of enemies we saw. Hopefully there is more variety once you go further and further into the game. You'll start seeing different things, more, I'd say more creatures would be cool. I feel like a lot of the things you saw were, here's a dude that's wearing armor, and that's kind of what it looks like for like 50% of the enemies, which is not the best, especially in a fantasy game. You want to see more monstrosities, which you did see, and some of them were cool looking. And, you know, like the movesets were decent and stuff, and, you know, even like the tracking was surprising. There was one instance in one of my parts where this big enemy, I was like 10 feet away from it, and he started swinging, and I thought he was going to be swinging at my co-op partner. All of a sudden, he runs to where I'm at and then slams down as this giant enemy, which for me was super surprising. If you watch that video, I had, you know, I reacted like, holy shit, I didn't expect that. One thing I really liked was the little side co-op character you have. Again, you can play without them if you want to make the game harder, but I think that they offer something pretty interesting. You know, they have different things where, you know, like different abilities. They could heal you, they could have shields that they put on you, they can have bigger weapons that stun the monsters, they could be quicker attack co-op characters, they could be co-op characters that shoot spells. You know, there's a nice variety in there. There's probably even going to be more once the full game comes out. And like I said, these little co-op characters can heal you and stuff like that. And with the blood codes, theoretically you could have, let's just say you find one of these little co-op partners that you really like, you want to keep them alive, so you could focus a build on just keeping them alive, giving them shields, giving them HP, giving them buffs. I think it syncs up nicely. Like, those two complement each other very well. And I also like that they revive you if you die, because, you know, I die a lot. Another like, while we're at it, I guess, the ability to use a password when doing co-op. The co-op worked okay, I think, in my opinion. You know, at least the mechanics of it. Whenever somebody dies that you summoned from a password, which is, you know, if I'm going to play co-op in that game, I'm going to be using the password 100% of the time, playing with viewers on stream. I like the fact that if this person that you summon dies, there's somebody else that can join away pretty quickly as long as they're in that area, and I think maybe around your same level. But don't quote me on that. I'm not really sure if it's the same level or the level even matters. Unless you're in stuff like boss fights, obviously it's not going to summon somebody right away if they die. But you can pretty much have a cycle of a bunch of different people getting their chance to be in there and stuff. I think it was good. But then a huge dislike is that the co-op was terrible. The connection is a giant problem for the co-op, man. Like, the connection was pretty goddamn horrible. I tried doing co-op myself one time because that's pretty much all I wanted to do after I got in there. I've never seen like NPC characters and bosses lag when doing co-op on top of the person themselves who is a host lagging. I'm not sure if it's an issue with the network test or, you know, how far somebody is away from somebody or something like that, but it was pretty damn bad. Hopefully they fix that, because I think that's going to be a big draw to this game. People like doing co-op. People like playing with their friends, so hopefully they get that in order and make it at least tolerable, because it was pretty bad. I really liked the character customization and the emote customization in this game. Now, the emote customization wasn't as big because obviously there's, you know, apart from co-op, nobody else is going to see it apart from you being like, oh, cool, I can match this with this thing. We didn't know you could match like certain words that the characters will say with whatever they do and a little picture, which I think is cool and would be awesome if a game like Dark Souls stole that idea. Or not really stole, but made it theirs without telling them or getting permission. I don't know what you call that though. But the character customization was also pretty good. I don't know if it's going to be the full character customization once the full game comes out, but I thought it was pretty good. There was a lot of different options to change up your character, but also at the end of the day, it is an anime character. You can only go so far. But there's also a nice bit of variety, as you can see in the character customization screen. They have, you know, like 20, 25 characters or something like that were made with the character customization, and they all look pretty unique and different, so I think it was really good. Another dislike are the backstabs. I didn't really like the way they work. I thought they were too easy to do, way too frequently. They did happen. There wasn't really a challenge. A lot of the times you would just be able to literally walk up to the enemy. He would slowly react, and then you just walk behind the press right bumper. And also the animation and stuff, there's like a lot of the times I was getting a cinematic, which was kind of annoying. It's cool and all, like it looks fine, the animation stuff looks cool, but after like the 30th time, I was sick of it and I didn't want to see the animation anymore. One thing I do like though is that different armors do have different animations, so it's not always the same. You know, there was different examples, like I had an armor that had 2 dogs that came out and bit the person. There was one that was like a scorpion tail that came out and pierced the person. There's different animations which are cool, but again, after it happens 30, 40 times, which you are going to get that many backstabs because it's pretty damn easy, you're just going to get sick of it. So hopefully, maybe there's an option to turn that off. I don't know if there is going to be, but it's not a big dislike. It's not like, you know, game breaking or anything. The next one is kind of like a like/dislike. The weapons. I thought the weapons were cool. There was a pretty nice variety of weapons. Now, for the most part, I did just find myself using the straight sword because I thought it was the best. I feel like the ultra great sword type of weapons that I got didn't really do too much damage. Like they were almost not worth using sometimes compared to like the straight swords and stuff because they were just so much faster. But what you do have with these ultra great weapons is different blood codes that will work out great for them. There was a certain like really quick 4 attack move that with the straight sword was pretty average. But then with the ultra great sword, it's pretty much the exact same speed as the straight sword and does 2-3 times the damage. So that's where you're going to see those ultra great swords come into play in my opinion. Now using the weapons was fine. Apart from like the movement being a little bit clunky, the weapons worked just fine. But another problem that I did have with the ultra great weapon is, I don't know if this is something that really makes sense unless you played it. It felt like the ultra great weapons really had no weight to them. They didn't feel like big weapons. They just felt like, I don't know. It's a little bit weird to explain. I guess if you played it, you might understand. Let me know if you also thought that. Another dislike, there's no option to shut your goddamn partner up. That partner that you have, the co-op partner, talks so much. I hope they have an option to shut their mouth. Maybe a piece of tape would work. Seriously, it gets annoying after about 45 minutes of them non-stop talking and saying dumb lines, reacting to every little thing. Only got 2 more, so we're gonna go with dislike. The frame rate wasn't really that steady. I played it on the PS4 Pro with the boost mode on. It didn't seem steady all the time. Again, this could be a thing with the network tests. They're doing this to improve. I don't know how much they can improve it. It wasn't bad 100% of the time, but there was a lot of instances where it would drop significantly if there was a lot of enemies or, you know, attacks going on the screen. It would drop frames and then it would be, you know, kind of annoying. There's also a lot of glitches that I kind of noticed. You know, there's times where you're going for a backstab. Let's just say if you and your co-op partner go for a backstab at the same time, there's times where you'll just be left standing there without being able to do anything until, you know, like 5 seconds go by. But again, these are things that they're probably going to improve, and they did the network test to improve these things. But overall, I enjoyed the game, and that's a big thing. That's a big like for me. As long as I played it and enjoyed it and walked away wanting to play more and made me excited to purchase the game and do a playthrough on it when it comes out in September, that's all that really mattered for me. I don't necessarily know if I had high hopes for this game. It was always kind of like, you know, a meme game for me, because it was that game that we knew, like, you know, everybody called it Anime Souls. People, when it came out, thought it was Bloodborne 2. It got delayed for a year, and I think it's going to be a fun playthrough that hopefully you guys do enjoy as well, because it seemed like people enjoyed the network test videos, which I'm glad about. Either way, that's a pretty solid list of things that I liked and disliked about the network test and the game itself. Let me know your guys' opinion. Let me know what you guys thought of the network test itself. Did you guys play it? You think this is a day one buy for you guys? For me, it is going to be 100%. But I also, I'm going to make content on the game. It's definitely going to be a little bit different for some people. Like, if you're going into this expecting Dark Souls 4, you're probably not going to be happy. So don't do that. Just think of it as a fun game that you'll get to play that has a sort of Souls-like combat, right? Anyways, that is going to be it for this video. If you made it this far, a like is very much appreciated. Thank you. If you do, leave a like. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. I'll see you all next time. Peace, everybody. It looks like boobs.jpg.